When the sun goes down, the city transforms for homeless women. What looks like a quiet street corner to you becomes a potential danger zone for them. Lisa, a former teacher who lost her apartment after a medical bankruptcy, once told me, "Nighttime isn't just dark. It's when you become invisible to the good people and visible to the bad ones." She wasn't being dramatic. Statistics show that homeless women are 16 times more likely to experience violence than housed women, with most incidents happening after dark. That's not just a number. That's thousands of women who have to become their own security guards every single night, developing strategies that would put professional bodyguards to shame. I spent over a year talking to homeless women across different cities, learning about their nighttime survival tactics. What I discovered was a sophisticated network of safety practices, unspoken rules, and incredible situational awareness. These women have turned vulnerability into vigilance, creating their own security systems without cameras, locks, or protection. Trust me, after hearing their stories, I'll never take my deadbolt for granted again. The ingenuity isn't just about staying safe. It's about maintaining hope that tomorrow's sunrise is worth fighting for tonight. Let's start with the most fundamental rule of street survival at night, something every homeless woman learns fast or pays the price. Because location isn't just about real estate when you're homeless. It's literally about life and death, and choosing the wrong spot to sleep can be your last mistake. The buddy system becomes gospel after dark. Women traveling alone are targets, plain and simple. That's why you'll often see homeless women in pairs or small groups, especially at night. "We're like a pack," explained Jennifer, who's been on the streets for 4 years. There's safety in numbers, and predators usually look for easier targets. When one person sleeps, the other stays alert. We rotate shifts like prison guards, except we're both the guards and the inmates. But finding the right sleeping spot requires knowledge that only comes from experience or from other women willing to share their hard-won wisdom. Well-lit areas might seem safer, and sometimes they are, but they also attract attention you don't want. Police, security guards, or people looking to harass the homeless. The sweet spot is dim enough to not draw attention, but bright enough to see danger coming. It's like finding the Goldilocks zone of street sleeping, one woman joked. Not too bright, not too dark, but just threatening enough that normal people stay away. Near 24-hour businesses is a popular choice. The constant foot traffic means you're less isolated, and employees sometimes keep an eye out. The 7-Eleven on 4th Street has this manager who lets us sleep by the dumpster area, Maria shared. He even knocks on the wall if he sees trouble coming. We call him our unofficial security guard. Though his motivation might just be keeping us from sleeping right in front of the store where customers can see us. Hospital parking lots and emergency room areas offer unexpected safety. There's always activity, security cameras everywhere, and most importantly, security guards who are trained to help people in distress, not just chase them away. "I've spent more nights in hospital parking lots than I care to count," Rachel said. "The doctors and nurses know me by now. They don't bother me as long as I stay out of the way. Plus, if something bad happens, help is literally right there." Church properties, especially those with outreach programs, can provide safe sleeping areas. Some churches explicitly allow homeless individuals to sleep on their grounds, while others have an informal "don't ask, don't tell" policy. The congregation at Grace Methodist knows we sleep behind their building. One woman explained, "They started leaving the back porch light on for us and putting out blankets during winter." Sometimes faith in humanity gets restored in the weirdest ways. Transportation hubs like bus stations and train terminals offer 24-hour shelter, but they're a double-edged sword. Yes, they're heated, lit, and monitored, but they also attract all sorts of characters at night. The key is finding a spot where security can see you, which deters most troublemakers, but not being so obvious that security kicks you out for loitering. I sit in the waiting area with my backpack like I'm waiting for a late bus, Jennifer demonstrated. If anyone asks, I have a ticket for the 6 a.m. departure. By the time 6 a.m. comes, I'm long gone. Parks are complicated at night. Some are relatively safe, especially smaller neighborhood parks that locals care about. Others are dangerous, controlled by drug dealers or violent individuals. You need local knowledge to know which is which. The park by the library is okay because it's next to a police station, explained one woman. But the park 3 blocks south, that's a no-go zone after dark. Women who sleep there usually don't last long. Either they get attacked or they get smart and leave. I sleep behind a hedge in this fancy neighborhood sometimes, Rachel admitted. Their security is so tight, nobody bothers me. Though I did have to explain to a concerned soccer mom once that I wasn't casing houses. I was just trying to not get murdered in my sleep. The golden rule of location is always have an exit strategy. Never sleep somewhere with only one way out. If trouble comes, you need to be able to run in multiple directions. Corners are death traps, explained Jennifer, demonstrating with her hands. You want to be near intersections, near alleyways, anywhere that gives you options. Women who ignore this rule learn the hard way, usually at 3 a.m. when they're trapped. But even the best location won't save you if you do and know how to stay alert to danger signs. That's where the next crucial skill comes in, learning to read the night like a book written specifically to keep you alive. Because situational awareness isn't just some fancy term from self-defense classes. It's a survival skill that homeless women develop out of sheer necessity, turning their senses into early warning systems that would impress military scouts. The art of pretending to sleep while actually staying awake is something almost every street veteran masters. You close your eyes, regulate your breathing, look completely out, but you're tracking every sound, every footstep, every change in the environment. It's exhausting, one woman admitted. By morning, you're more tired than when you lay down. But being tired is better than being dead or assaulted. Sound becomes your primary sense after dark. Women learn to distinguish between normal nighttime sounds and potential threats. Regular footsteps versus hesitant, stalking footsteps. Casual conversation versus aggressive confrontation. The rattle of a shopping cart versus the click of a weapon. You become a human surveillance system, Maria explained. I can tell the difference between a drunk stumbling home and someone looking for trouble just by their walk pattern. Many women develop elaborate alarm systems using materials they find. Empty cans tied with string create noise if disturbed. Plastic bags placed strategically crinkle when stepped on. Dogs, when women can keep them, provide both companionship and security. A barking dog is often enough to deter potential attackers. Plus, many people are more sympathetic to a homeless woman with a dog than without one. My dog Max has saved my life at least 3 times, Jennifer said, scratching her mutt's ears. Once, he started growling at a guy who'd been following me. The guy saw the dog and decided I wasn't worth the trouble. Max got extra treats that night. Body language becomes a carefully calculated performance. Look too vulnerable and you invite attack. Look too confident or aggressive and you might provoke confrontation. The goal is to look unremarkable, not worth bothering with. I call it my invisible mode, explained Rachel. Shoulders slightly hunched, eyes down but aware, no jewelry, nothing flashy. I want to blend into the background like wallpaper. The moment you stand out, you're in danger. Identifying potential threats before they become actual threats is crucial. Women learn to read intentions through tiny details. The way someone looks at you, whether their hands are visible, how they approach. If someone's walking toward you with their hands in their pockets, that's a red flag, one woman shared. You can't see their hands, which means they might be holding something. I've learned to create distance the moment I see that. Groups of men, especially young men, are generally avoided at night. Even if most are harmless, the risk isn't worth taking. Nothing good happens when 3 or more drunk guys spot a homeless woman alone, Maria said flatly. I've learned to go blocks out of my way to avoid groups. Call it profiling if you want, but it's kept me alive. The internet and cell phones, when women have access to them, have become safety tools. Some women charge their phones at libraries or coffee shops during the day, then keep them for emergency calls at night. Others use free Wi-Fi to stay connected with safety networks or track weather that might make their sleeping spot dangerous. My phone is my lifeline, explained one woman. Even without service, I can call 911 if I need to, and just having it makes me feel less alone. Trusting your gut becomes paramount. Women report that their instincts have saved them more often than any other safety strategy. If something feels wrong, it usually is. I don't care if I seem paranoid or rude, one woman said emphatically. If I get a bad vibe from someone, I'm gone. I've ignored my instincts before and paid for it. Never again, but awareness can only take you so far. Eventually, you need actual defenses, which brings us to the weapons and tools homeless women carry for protection. Because pepper spray costs $10, but it might be worth your life. That's the calculus homeless women make when deciding what to carry for self-defense. Pepper spray is the most common defensive tool. It's legal in most places, relatively cheap and effective, but it has downsides. It can be taken away and used against you. It has an expiration date, and in close quarters or wind, you might end up spraying yourself. I carry pepper spray attached to my backpack strap with a carabiner, Jennifer demonstrated. If I need it, it's right there. But I've also practiced using it because fumbling with it in an emergency would be useless. Whistles and personal alarms are popular because they draw attention, and most attackers don't want attention. The screaming alarm on my keychain has stopped to potential attacks, Rachel shared. Soon as I pressed it, guys took off running. They don't want witnesses, and that sound brings witnesses, though it also sometimes brings angry people yelling at me to shut it off, which is awkward but better than being attacked. Improvised weapons are everywhere when you know what to look for. Keys held between fingers create a makeshift brass knuckle effect. Heavy flashlights can be used as clubs. Even a roll of quarters in your fist adds force to a punch. Hairspray can work as pepper spray in a pinch, one woman explained. Aim for the eyes and it's temporarily blinding. Plus, you can claim it's just for your hair if police search your stuff. Some women carry knives, though this is more controversial and dangerous. A knife can be taken away easily and used against you. Plus, in many places, carrying a knife of certain lengths is illegal and can get you arrested. I used to carry a pocket knife, Maria admitted. But after I almost stabbed myself trying to open a can, I decided it was more dangerous to me than helpful. Now I just carry a really sturdy pen. You'd be surprised how effective a pen can be as a stabbing instrument if needed. Defensive training would be ideal, but formal classes cost money most homeless women don't have. Instead, they share knowledge with each other, teaching basic strikes and defensive moves. The eye gouge, the throat punch, the knee to the groin, these become shared wisdom passed between women. You don't need fancy martial arts, one woman said while demonstrating a palm strike. You just need to know the vulnerable spots and be willing to fight dirty. Pretty beats alive every time. Positioning yourself near escape routes becomes second nature. Women avoid corners, dead ends, anywhere they might get trapped. When talking to someone suspicious, they maintain distance and keep themselves positioned so they can run. I never let anyone get within arm's reach if I don't trust them, explained Jennifer. And I always know where the nearest exit is, like a flight attendant. Except instead of plane emergencies, it's life emergencies. Looking poor actually provides some protection. The less you appear to have, the less attractive you are to thieves. I dress down on purpose, one woman shared. No jewelry, no nice shoes, my clothes are deliberately ratty. I want to look like robbing me would be a waste of time. It's sad that looking destitute is actually a safety strategy, but that's street logic. But perhaps the most powerful safety tool homeless women have isn't pepper spray or whistles. It's the network of other women watching out for each other, sharing information, and providing backup when needed. Because the sisterhood of the street is real, and it saves lives every night. The information network operates like an underground intelligence agency. Women share details about dangerous individuals, safe sleeping spots, which areas to avoid. There's this guy in a blue jacket who's been following women near the park, gets passed around like a wanted poster. We describe him, warn each other, and suddenly he finds it harder to catch anyone alone. Regular check-ins between street friends become routine. If I don't see Maria by noon, I go looking for her, Jennifer explained. We have spots where we know to find each other. It's an informal buddy system, but it works. Last month, I found her passed out from dehydration. Got her to the hospital. She'd do the same for me. Sharing resources strengthens safety. If one woman gets pepper spray donated to her, she might share with others. If someone finds a safe sleeping spot with room for two, they bring a friend. We pool our safety resources, Rachel said. It's not about being generous. It's about survival. Alone, we're vulnerable. Together, we're harder targets. The code of conduct among homeless women is strict about reporting predators. If a man assaults or threatens one woman, others are immediately warned. We have our own justice system, explained one woman darkly. We can't always go to the cops. They don't always help, so we police ourselves. Men who hurt homeless women get reputations, and those reputations follow them. Sometimes the protection network extends to sympathetic housed individuals. Coffee shop workers who let women use the bathroom at night, security guards who look the other way. Even police officers who, instead of enforcing loitering laws, offer information about safe shelter locations. There's Officer Davis who patrols downtown, Maria shared. He doesn't hassle us. Instead, he tells us where he won't be patrolling that night, which is his way of saying where it's safe to sleep. He's helped more than he probably realizes. Social media and online groups have created virtual safety networks. Women share real-time information about dangerous situations, safe locations, and resources. There's a Facebook group for homeless women in our city. One woman explained, pulling out a cracked smartphone. Someone posts that they're being followed, and women nearby will show up. It's like a digital cavalry. Mentorship between experienced street women and newcomers prevents costly mistakes. Veterans teach newcomers the unwritten rules, the dangerous areas, the survival tactics. When I first hit the streets, this older woman took me under her wing, Jennifer recalled. Taught me everything she knew about staying safe. Probably saved my life a dozen times over. Now I do the same for others when I can. The emotional support network is just as crucial as physical safety. Trauma from violence is common, and having women to talk to process experiences with, prevents the isolation that can lead to dangerous decisions or giving up entirely. We've all got stories we wish we didn't have, Rachel said quietly. Being able to share them with women who understand, who won't judge, that keeps you sane, keeps you fighting. But even with all these safety strategies, the reality is that violence still happens. Which brings us to the hardest truth about homeless women's safety at night. Because no amount of vigilance, weapons, or community support can eliminate all danger. And sometimes the system that should protect homeless women actually makes them less safe. Police relationships are complicated at best. While some officers are genuinely helpful, others view homeless individuals as problems to be moved along rather than people to be protected. If I report being assaulted, the first thing they ask is where I live, one woman said bitterly. When I say I'm homeless, their whole attitude changes. Suddenly, I'm not a victim, I'm a nuisance. The fear of arrest keeps many women from reporting crimes. Outstanding warrants, even for minor offenses like loitering, mean that calling police for help might result in your own arrest. So women calculate, is being assaulted worse than potentially going to jail? It's an impossible choice, but one homeless women face regularly. Shelters, which should be safe havens, can be dangerous too. Theft is common, violence happens, and some women report being assaulted by staff or other residents. I'd rather take my chances on the street than in some shelters, Maria stated firmly. At least on the street, I know who my enemies are. In shelters, you can't trust anyone and you're trapped inside with them. Medical care after assault is often inaccessible. Emergency rooms might treat physical injuries, but follow-up care, mental health services, and sexual assault examinations require resources homeless women don't have. After I was attacked, the hospital patched me up and sent me back to the same street corner where it happened. One woman recalled. No counseling, no safe place to recover, just back out there. The trauma just layers on top of trauma. The invisibility of violence against homeless women means little public outcry or systemic change. When a homeless woman is attacked, it rarely makes news. There's no vigil, no community outrage, no pressure on officials to do better. We're invisible victims of invisible crimes, explained Rachel. Society doesn't see us as real people with real lives worth protecting. Legal prostitution debates ignore how many homeless women engage in survival sex, trading their bodies for safety, shelter, or resources. It's not always explicit. Sometimes it's accepting a ride from someone you know expects payment. Sometimes it's sleeping with someone who has an apartment just to have one night indoors. The line between choice and coercion blurs when your alternative is freezing on the street. Substance abuse, which many people judge harshly, often starts as self-medication for trauma. You try to sleep on the street completely sober after being attacked, and then judge me for using whatever I can find to numb the fear and pain, one woman said angrily. I didn't become an addict because I'm weak. I became one because it was the only way to survive the horror show that is street life. The statistics paint a grim picture. Studies show that between 40 to 60% of homeless women have experienced sexual assault while homeless. That's not over their lifetimes, that's specifically during their period of homelessness. It's practically epidemic levels, but nobody talks about it, one woman pointed out. Because if people admitted how dangerous it is to be a homeless woman, they have to actually do something about it. But despite all this, homeless women continue to survive, to resist, to protect each other and themselves. The strategies they've developed, the networks they've built, the resilience they demonstrate every night, all of it speaks to a fundamental truth about human nature. People will fight to survive, will find ways to protect themselves and others, even when systems fail them and society ignores them. Every night, as darkness falls and fear rises, thousands of homeless women are implementing safety protocols that would fill security training manuals. They're watching each other's backs, warning each other about dangers, sharing resources and information, all without official support or recognition. They're their own security force, their own emergency response system, their own support network. And they're exhausted. This shouldn't be necessary. In a just society, vulnerable women wouldn't need to become security experts just to survive the night. But until that society exists, these women will continue doing what they've always done, protecting themselves and each other with intelligence, courage, and an unshakable determination to see another sunrise. As Jennifer told me in our last conversation, adjusting the pepper spray on her backpack, every morning I wake up alive, I've won. It might not look like much to you, but when you've spent the night waiting for violence that might or might not come, seeing the sun come up is a victory. And I'll keep fighting for those victories, one night at a time, until I don't have to anymore. The night will always be dangerous for homeless women. But they've proven that even in darkness, even without locks or walls or security cameras, even when the entire system has abandoned them, they can create safety through vigilance, community, and sheer force of will. It's not enough, and it shouldn't be necessary, but it's proof that homeless women are survivors in the truest sense of the word.